You've probably heard the term shadow work, maybe on TikTok, maybe in therapy, or maybe in the middle of a breakdown. But where did it really come from? And why does everyone say it's the key to true healing? In this video, we dive deep into the mind of Carl Jung, the man who first introduced the concept of the shadow, and will reveal how confronting the darkest parts of yourself is the only path to becoming whole. What if I told you there's a part of you that you've spent your entire life trying to ignore? A part that holds your anger, your jealousy, your guilt, and your deepest fears, not because you're a bad person, but because you've been taught to bury those parts of yourself. This hidden self is what Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, called the shadow. The shadow isn't evil. It's not a demon inside of you. It's simply the part of your personality that you've rejected. It's everything you don't want to be, but still are. Jung described the shadow as the unknown dark side of the personality. But here's the key. It's not always dark because it's bad. Often it's dark because it's unconscious. It lives in the parts of your mind you don't want to look at. So, what lives in the shadow? Maybe it's your rage when someone crosses a boundary. Maybe it's the jealousy you feel but never admit. Maybe it's your need for attention, your fear of being abandoned, or your secret desire to be powerful, even manipulative. The shadow is the you pretend you're not. From an early age, we're told what's acceptable, what emotions are good, what behaviors are bad. You might have heard, don't cry, be nice. Anger is ugly, girls don't do that, or boys don't cry. So what happens? You push these parts of yourself down. You repress them to stay lovable. And over time, you forget they're even there. But they are. And the more you deny them, the more control they gain in secret. Jung believed that unless we make the shadow conscious, it controls our behavior in ways we don't even realize. We project it onto other people. We sabotage our relationships. We repeat the same emotional patterns over and over and wonder why nothing changes. The shadow isn't trying to ruin your life. It's trying to be seen. It holds clues to your healing, your authenticity, and your potential. And here's the most important part. Shadow work isn't about destroying your dark side. It's about integrating it. It's about facing what you've hidden so you can reclaim your wholeness. Jung wrote, "There is no light without shadow, and no psychic wholeness without imperfection. Your shadow is not your enemy. It's your teacher. And the moment you stop running from it is the moment you begin to become who you truly are." So if the shadow is the part of us that's hidden, where did it come from? Were we born with it? Or did life shape it? Carl Jung believed that the shadow begins forming in childhood, not because we are bad or broken, but because we are trying to survive. As children, we are wide open. We express everything: joy, rage, curiosity, wildness, vulnerability. We are pure potential. But quickly we learn that some parts of us are more acceptable than others. When a parent yells, "Don't cry," or punishes you for being too loud or too angry or too sensitive, a message gets implanted in your subconscious. This part of me isn't welcome. To be loved, we adapt. We start cutting off pieces of ourselves, tucking them away in the dark just to belong. Jung called this process persona formation, the mask we create to fit into society. The more we build this mask, the more we disown the traits that don't match it. But those rejected parts, they don't disappear. They just get buried. And that buried pile becomes the shadow. Imagine a child told they're too emotional. They might learn to suppress their tears, numb their empathy, and adopt a persona of being strong and unaffected. But underneath the emotions still live, unfelt, unloved, and waiting to be acknowledged. Or maybe you were told it was wrong to be ambitious, selfish, sexual, assertive. So those qualities became shameful, and shame is the fertilizer of the shadow. This isn't just about negative traits. Sometimes even positive parts of ourselves end up in the shadow. Creativity, sensuality, power, confidence. If they were seen as threats by our early environment, Jung believed that by the time we reach adulthood, we're walking around as fragments of who we truly are. We become strangers to ourselves, acting out unconscious patterns, getting triggered by things we don't understand, and wondering why we feel incomplete. The shadow holds the key to that mystery. It is not the enemy. It's the part of you that was exiled to protect you. And the truth is, your shadow formed for a reason. It was your child mind's way of staying safe in an unsafe world. It was intelligent, even loving. But now, as an adult, you have the opportunity, the responsibility to retrieve what you once buried, to bring those parts back into the light. As Jung once wrote, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely, but that acceptance is what sets you free. The shadow doesn't stay silent forever. The parts of yourself that you've pushed into the dar, they start to speak. Not in words, but through pain, conflict, and confusion. Carl Jung warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. This is where most people start to feel the shadow's power, when their life feels out of control, even though they're trying to do everything right. So how does the shadow hurt you? First, through emotional triggers. You might overreact to small things, a comment, a look, a tone of voice. But underneath the outburst is often a buried wound trying to be acknowledged. The shadow doesn't show up politely. It screams through the cracks of your mask. Second, it shows up in projections. Jung said we often project our disowned traits onto others. In simple terms, what we can't accept in ourselves, we judge in someone else. That friend, you say, is too selfish. Maybe you've never felt safe enough to be selfish. That partner you call too emotional. Maybe you've shut off your own emotional world. The shadow creates a mirror, and the people who trigger us are often reflecting the very parts we've disowned. Third, self-sabotage. You may crave love, but push people away. You want success, but you procrastinate. You desire peace, but find yourself in chaos again and again. These patterns aren't just bad habits. They're symptoms of a divided self. The shadow pulls you in one direction, while your conscious mind walks in another. And then there's shame, the quiet poison. When your shadow remains unconscious, it feeds shame. There's something wrong with me. If people knew the real me, they'd leave. I'm not worthy. Shame thrives in darkness. But when you start bringing the shadow into the light, you dissolve its power. Shadow work is the process of reclaiming those disowned parts, not to indulge them, but to understand them. You don't integrate the shadow by acting out every impulse. You integrate it by owning it, feeling it, and choosing consciously how to respond. Jung didn't promise comfort. He promised transformation. And transformation begins with truth. The truth that your anger may be protecting your boundaries, that your envy might reveal your unfulfilled desires, that your shame may be inherited, not earned, and that your shadow, when embraced, becomes your guide. This is why shadow work isn't optional for real healing, because without it, you're living only half a life, haunted by the parts of yourself you refuse to see. But with it, you gain clarity, compassion, and the power to change your patterns at the root. The question is no longer, do you have a shadow? The question is, are you willing to meet it? By now you might be wondering, okay, I know I have a shadow, I can feel it, but how do I face it without getting lost in it? Shadow work is not about fixing yourself. It's about seeing yourself honestly, compassionately, completely. Jung never claimed that shadow work was easy. He called it the path of individuation, a lifelong process of becoming whole. But every step toward your shadow is a step toward freedom. Let's walk through the path, step by step. Step 1. Notice your triggers. Start with the moments that make you feel out of control. What angers you? What embarrasses you? What do you judge harshly in others? Emotional overreactions are not signs of weakness. They are portals into the unconscious. Behind every trigger is a story, a wound, or a hidden belief about yourself. Don't just react. Reflect. Ask, what part of me feels threatened right now? What am I trying to protect? Step 2. Study your projections. Jung said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. The people you dislike can be your best teachers. When someone provokes a strong emotion in you, ask, is this trait something I've disowned in myself? If you think someone is too arrogant, do you secretly wish you could speak up more? If you call someone too needy, have you learned to fear your own needs? Projection is the shadow's favorite disguise. Step 3. Journal with radical honesty. Write without editing. Let the raw truth spill out. Ask yourself questions like, what do I pretend not to feel? What part of myself do I fear others seeing? When was I taught to hide who I am? Jung used a method called active imagination, writing dialogues with different parts of the psyche. Try it. Write to your shadow like it's a person. You might be surprised what it says back. Step 4. Feel without judgment. When the shadow rises, anger, grief, jealousy, fear, don't push it away. Sit with it. Let it speak. Let it breathe. You're not weak for feeling. You're wise for listening. Remember, the shadow is a child version of you. Not evil, just exiled. It's not asking for punishment. It's asking to be held. Step 5. Integration, not perfection. You don't destroy the shadow. You integrate it. That means you recognize your full humanity, light and dark, soft and strong, loving and flawed, and choose to live from awareness. As Jung said, I'd rather be whole than good. Wholeness is your birthright, and shadow work is how you remember who you were before the world told you to hide. What happens when you stop running from the parts of yourself you've buried? When you sit with your shame, your rage, your fears, and you don't turn away. Something powerful begins to unfold. You become whole again. This is the gift of shadow work, not perfection, not enlightenment, but wholeness. Integration doesn't mean your shadow disappears. It means it no longer controls you from the dark. It becomes part of your conscious self. And when you integrate your shadow, several profound shifts begin to happen. 1. Emotional freedom. You stop being controlled by unconscious reactions. Triggers lose their power. You stop lashing out or shutting down because you now understand the root of your pain. Feelings don't overwhelm you anymore. You can feel deeply and stay grounded. You no longer fear your emotions, you respect them. Deeper relationships. When you accept your own darkness, you become less judgmental of others. You no longer need to wear a mask to be loved. You can show up as your full, honest self and invite others to do the same. Vulnerability becomes a strength, not a threat, Jung wrote. Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people. 3. authentic power. Integration unlocks what Jung called the gold in the shadow. That means your anger can become courage. Your fear can become intuition. Your envy can show you your deepest desires. Even your chaos can lead you to creativity. These traits aren't here to destroy you. They were just waiting to be channeled. You reclaim parts of your power that you didn't even know you gave away. 4. Self-trust. You stop second-guessing yourself. Because when you've met your shadow, nothing scares you quite the same way again. You realize you can face the darkest parts of your psyche and still stand in the light. Shadow integration gives you an unshakable confidence, not arrogance, but alignment. You trust your choices because they come from your whole self, not a fragmented version of you 5. Spiritual evolution. Jung believed that individuation, the integration of the shadow, was a spiritual path. It's how you become who you are always meant to be, not just a socially approved identity, but a full human soul. When you stop denying your darkness, your light shines clearer. You stop chasing transcendence and start embodying it. Integration isn't the end. It's the beginning of a life rooted in truth, depth, and conscious presence. As Jung said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. So if you're on this path, know this: you're not broken. You're becoming whole. You've made it to the end, but really this is the beginning. Shadow work isn't something you complete. It's not a checklist. It's a relationship with your hidden self, a relationship that deepens over time. The shadow isn't a flaw to fix. It's a forgotten part of your soul asking to come home. Carl Jung didn't offer easy answers. He offered truth. And truth is uncomfortable before it's liberating. But the moment you stop running from your guilt, your envy, your fear, your past, you step into a kind of freedom most people never know. A freedom rooted in self-awareness, not self-denial. It's not about becoming a saint. It's about becoming whole. And if this journey feels overwhelming, know this: you don't have to face everything at once. You only have to take the next step, and then the next. Maybe that step is journaling tonight. Maybe it's noticing what triggers you tomorrow. Maybe it's saying, I feel angry without shame, without apology. Every small act of self-honesty is shadow work. Every moment you stop pretending and start listening is healing. If this message resonated with you, don't keep it inside. Share this video with someone who's ready to come home to themselves. Leave a comment below. What's one part of yourself you're ready to reclaim? Your story might be the mirror someone else needs. And if you're ready to go deeper, subscribe. This channel isn't about trends, it's about truth. And together we're unfolding the parts of ourselves that the world forgot to love. Jung once said, your vision will become clear only when you look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens. You're not here by accident, you're awakening. The shadow isn't your curse, it's your key.